The murmurs inside the courtroom stopped as the doors swung open with a low creak. Heads turned, cameras clicked. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Kanye West had just walked in. Dressed head to toe in a minimalist black ensemble, face half concealed behind his trademark mask, he moved with the calm assurance of someone who knew he wasn't supposed to be here, but didn't care. Even the bailiff hesitated before approaching. Judge Harrison Myers peered over his glasses, caught off guard but unwilling to let it show. At the defense table, Sean "Diddy" Combs leaned forward, eyes locked on the man who had just stolen the spotlight from the most talked-about case in the country. And with that, we welcome you to a story that's about to unravel everything you thought you knew. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button, because what Kanye says today might not just blow up this courtroom. It could shake the entire music industry. Outside the courthouse, chaos reigned. Barricades strained as reporters surged forward. Among them was Veronica Fields, live on her network's streaming channel. "This is not a drill," she said breathlessly into the camera. Kanye West has just entered the courtroom in a surprise move no one anticipated. We don't yet know why he's here, but sources inside confirm he's already causing disruption. Veronica was a seasoned journalist, known for piercing interviews and bold questions, but even she was rattled by the pace of the morning. Diddy's court hearing, centered around allegations of financial misconduct and industry corruption, had already been a media circus. Now, with Kanye's unexpected entrance, it was nuclear. Inside, whispers multiplied like wildfire. The judge banged his gavel 3 times. "Order! Order in the court!" Kanye moved to the front row and sat down silently. His presence said more than any opening statement. At the defense table, Diddy whispered frantically to his attorney, Marcus Reed. "What's he doing here?" Reed had no answers. This wasn't planned. He wasn't on any witness list. On the prosecution side, Agent Carla Monroe adjusted her glasses and scribbled something into her notepad. She was there to monitor proceedings on behalf of a joint federal investigation. Monroe didn't like surprises, and Kanye West was the definition of one. The hearing resumed with procedural motions, but tension pulsed through the air like static before a storm. Judge Myers was about to dismiss the court for recess when Kanye stood up. "Your Honor," he said, voice clear and steady. "I'd like to speak." Gasps, audible, loud, unfiltered. Myers blinked. "Mr. West, you are not a party to this case. Sit down." "I have information relevant to this trial," Kanye continued, "and to the people watching outside. You'll want to hear it." Diddy's jaw tightened. Whatever this was, it wasn't coordinated. Veronica's phone buzzed in her hand as social media exploded. Kanye in court was already trending worldwide. Judge Myers signaled to the bailiff, who approached Kanye cautiously. "Escort him out." But Kanye raised a hand and calmly removed the mask from his face. "I can prove the system behind this trial isn't just flawed, and it's manipulated." The silence that followed was unnatural. Even Judge Myers didn't speak. Not immediately. Veronica's voice crackled in her mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, we may be witnessing one of the most shocking courtroom moments in modern celebrity history." The gavel struck wood again. "Court is adjourned for a 15-minute recess," Judge Myers said, voice now unsteady. Kanye sat back down, unbothered. The earthquake had begun. Outside the courthouse, the sky had turned overcast, as if mirroring the chaos unfolding within. Veronica Fields huddled beneath a news tent with her producer, frantically piecing together the last 20 minutes for the midday live segment. "Let's run the package with archival footage of Kanye and Diddy's past," she said, voice clipped but controlled. "We need to show the audience this isn't just a stunt. There's history here." And there was. Flashback clips played across networks around the world, the 2005 MTV Awards, where Diddy and Kanye embraced on stage, the infamous 2013 studio fallout that ended in silence between the two, Kanye's 2016 rant where he cryptically warned that some brothers you think are kings are just well-dressed shadows. The court had reconvened. Judge Myers returned to the bench with an unreadable expression. "I have received a formal request from Mr. West to speak under oath. Against my better judgment, I will allow 5 minutes of testimony." after which this court will resume regular proceedings. Murmurs again. Some people shifted uncomfortably, others leaned in. The entire courtroom was suspended between disbelief and anticipation. Kanye stood, walked toward the witness box, and raised his right hand. "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?" "I do," Kanye replied. Even now his voice held a strange serenity, like he wasn't just testifying but preaching. "Mr. West," Judge Myers began, "you may proceed." Kanye turned to face the court, eyes scanning the room, pausing ever so slightly on Diddy. He didn't look angry. He looked focused. "You all think this trial is about Diddy," Kanye said, "but it's not. It's about a system. A system that turns artists into assets, loyalty into leverage, and secrets into weapons." The judge made a motion to interrupt, but stopped himself. Kanye continued, "I came here because I have documents, contracts, and proof, years' worth, that show coordinated efforts between record executives, financial firms, and federal informants to orchestrate outcomes just like this." "Diddy is not the first, he won't be the last," gasps. A few jurors visibly recoiled. "Let me tell you about November 8th, 2019, Kanye said. "A meeting took place at the Essex House Hotel. 3 industry heads were there. So was Diddy, so was I. We were offered immunity in exchange for cooperation. Only one of us said no. He didn't have to say who. Diddy looked like he'd swallowed a grenade." Reed, his attorney, whispered urgently into his ear. Agent Monroe, watching from the gallery, began typing furiously into her phone. "I have emails, recordings, signatures," Kanye added. "If you let this trial play out without context, you're not just putting a man on trial. You're protecting the very machine that built him." Outside, Veronica watched the live stream on her tablet. Her hands trembled. She turned to her cameraman. "Start rolling again. We're going live in 60. Inside, the judge had heard enough. "That's it, Mr. West. This court will review your submission in private. Bailiff, please escort the witness to the conference room." Kanye didn't resist. As he stepped down, he looked once more at Diddy, this time with a flicker of sadness. The damage was done. Outside the courtroom, cameras zoomed in as Kanye disappeared behind a secured door. But Agent Monroe had already left her seat and was following him. The air inside the courtroom remained heavy long after Kanye was escorted out. Conversations were hushed but frantic. Even the judge, usually a model of composure, seemed distracted as he tried to steer the trial back to its original course. But the seed had been planted. Diddy sat motionless, his fingers laced together tightly. His lawyer, Marcus Reed, leaned in. "We need to move on from that circus. Stay focused." But Diddy's eyes didn't move. His gaze stayed fixed on the door through which Kanye had exited. He knew exactly which night Kanye had referred to, November 8th, and he knew what had happened after. The courtroom heard from the next scheduled witness, a former financial advisor for Diddy's company, but their testimony landed hollow now, overshadowed by the bombshell Kanye had dropped. Even the jury looked distracted. Meanwhile, outside, Veronica Fields was live again, her voice steadier now, yet no less urgent. "While courtroom proceedings continue, we're working to verify the claims Kanye West just made. If confirmed, this could widen the scope of the investigation far beyond Sean Combs." As she spoke, a familiar ping rang from her phone. She glanced down. An anonymous tip had come through. Subject line: "Look deeper into Essex House." It wasn't just a meeting. It was a setup. Attached was a blurry photo of Diddy, Kanye, and 3 men in suits exiting a hotel conference room. Back inside, Kanye sat across from Agent Carla Monroe in a secure conference room down the hall. The tension was sharp. "You're not stupid," Monroe said. "You knew coming here like this could compromise you." Kanye slid a USB flash drive across the table. "Everything I said, it's all on there. And if anything happens to me, that footage goes public." Monroe took the drive carefully, her expression unreadable. "I'll have to verify it. If it's authentic, you might have just opened the biggest can of worms the industry's ever seen." Kanye nodded once. That was the point. He stood, fixing the mask back over his face. You're not the only one tired of pretending nothing's broken. Elsewhere, the judge announced a short break in court. Marcus Reed took the opportunity to speak to Veronica, who had been granted media access inside for the afternoon session. "This is a stunt," Reed insisted. "Whatever Mr. West claims to have doesn't change the facts of this case." But Veronica was already thinking a step ahead. She had a hunch, and she had contacts. While the break continued, she pulled out her laptop in the press area and began cross-referencing the flashback footage from November 2019 with hotel security logs she'd been leaked months ago during another story. One name came up that didn't belong: Victor Scarnes, a former executive at Titan Records, currently under sealed investigation by federal authorities. He had been at Essex House too. Suddenly, Kanye's cryptic statement clicked into place. Back in the courtroom, the judge was about to reconvene when a legal clerk handed him a note. A formal request from Kanye's counsel to admit an audio recording into evidence. Myers raised an eyebrow but nodded. "Play it." The courtroom went silent as speakers hissed and then cleared. A voice crackled through. It was Victor Scarnes. "We get Combs on the hook. It's easier to squeeze the rest." "You want leverage? This is how you get it. Loyalty's a myth. Fear gets results." Audible gasps followed. Diddy visibly tensed. His attorney stood up immediately. "Objection!" But it was too late. The earthquake Kanye started was now in full motion. The courtroom was no longer just a place for testimony. It had become a battleground of truths, half-truths, and shockwaves. Judge Myers banged his gavel, trying to regain control after the explosive audio. "Silence or I'll clear the room." The voice of Victor Scarnes still echoed in people's minds. "Loyalty's a myth. Fear gets results." It was more than a soundbite. It was a confession. Not just about Diddy, but about the machinery behind him. The industry's hidden levers were now exposed to the world. Marcus Reed, flustered but composed, demanded that the audio be excluded. "This is unverified, out of context, and potentially illegal." But Judge Myers paused, weighing more than legal precedent. He was calculating risk. "This court will allow temporary consideration of the audio as part of a broader evidentiary review," he finally ruled. "We will convene a closed session to assess its authenticity." Outside the courtroom, the world was already reacting. Veronica Fields took a deep breath as she stepped back onto her live broadcast. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are entering uncharted territory," she said into the camera. Not only has Kanye West disrupted this trial, he's linked it to a wider conspiracy that implicates major record executives. We're currently verifying the identity of one of the voices in that recording. But Veronica wasn't just reporting now. She was investigating. Back in her media van, she reviewed court documents and financial trails connected to Victor Scarnes. She found links to lobbying firms, private intelligence contractors, and more importantly, sealed settlements with artists who vanished from the spotlight without explanation. She made a call. "Jason, pull the 2020 Senate hearing archive on corporate influence in the music industry. There's a name I think we missed." Meanwhile, in the courthouse's private chamber, Kanye met Agent Monroe once more. The atmosphere was heavier now. "You said there was more," Monroe said. "There is," Kanye replied. "I didn't come here to save Diddy. I came here to dismantle a pattern." He opened his phone and showed Monroe an encrypted folder, scanned contracts, emails with timestamps, flight records, internal memos. This is how they control legacy artists, not with contracts, but with silence. They make examples of the loud ones. Monroe reviewed the documents quickly. Her expression shifted. This is organized coercion. It's not just financial manipulation. It's blackmail." Kanye nodded. "You ready to go public with this?" "I already have," Kanye said. "Check your inbox." Across the courtroom building, Monroe's phone buzzed. A secure file transfer request from a proxy account appeared in her inbox, time-stamped and already spreading. Back in the main courtroom, Marcus Reed tried to rally his defense, pushing the narrative that Kanye's appearance was a calculated distraction. "He's a provocateur. This isn't a crusade, it's theater." But then the doors opened again. This time it wasn't Kanye. It was Veronica. She handed the bailiff a file. "For the judge," she said. "Urgent." Inside was a discovery she'd just verified. A wire transfer from a shell corporation tied to Victor Scarnes, dated exactly 2 days before the Essex House meeting. The recipient? A now-defunct company partially owned by Diddy's legal trust. The timing was too perfect. Back on the stand, the prosecution requested permission to reopen the witness list based on new evidence. Judge Myers rubbed his temples. "Mr. Reed," he said, "your client may be facing a broader investigation." Diddy looked stunned, trapped between disbelief and realization. Outside, the crowd had grown, protesters, fans, media. But in the eye of the storm, Kanye was calm. Because the truth was no longer buried. The courtroom no longer buzzed with whispers. It pulsed with something heavier, reckoning. Judge Myers, usually deliberate in his words, sat stone-faced as new documents were passed across the bench. Veronica's evidence had shaken the floor again, tying money, power, and control into one damning knot. "I'm suspending all immediate motions," Myers declared. "This court is now in recess pending further investigation. The defense and prosecution will submit supplementary materials within 48 hours. Gasps filled the air. No ruling, no closure. Just a pause, the kind that only comes when the system realizes it's being watched. Diddy remained seated, hands clenched, lips sealed. For once, the king of the stage had no words. His attorney quietly packed up their files, knowing this fight was far from over. Meanwhile, Kanye stood in the hallway, surrounded by U.S. Marshals and Agent Monroe. No cuffs, no arrest, just gravity. "You know they're going to come after you," Monroe said, holding up the drive she'd copied. "Not just with lawyers, with everything." "I know," Kanye replied. "But they've already taken what they could from me. Now I take back what's mine, the truth." Outside, the media had exploded. Every outlet from TMZ to CNN was live. Hashtags like Kanye vs. Industry, Diddy Trial Twist, and Essex Files dominated all platforms. Veronica stepped away from the cameras for a moment. She opened her recorder and spoke softly, not for the air, but for her personal notes. "What we saw today was not about celebrity ego," she said. "It was about structural rot. It's about how power silences, manipulates, and discards. But today, someone cracked the surface." She looked up at the courthouse, an old building now holding a very new truth. Back inside, Agent Monroe submitted a formal affidavit requesting a multi-agency probe into music industry financial practices. Her hands didn't shake. She'd seen enough. As Kanye walked down the steps, the crowd parted. Some jeered, others cheered, but most were just stunned. He stopped at the bottom, pulled off his mask, and turned to face the flashing lights. "This wasn't about saving Diddy," he said clearly, "and it sure wasn't about saving myself. It's about ending the fear. I know I'm not perfect, but neither is this empire built on silence and secrets, and I won't be quiet anymore." Then he walked away, disappearing into a black SUV as helicopters circled overhead. Back in her studio, Veronica filed her final segment. In a world where fame often masks corruption, today reminded us that even the most carefully constructed illusions can shatter. And sometimes, it only takes one voice, unfiltered and unafraid, to shake the pillars. She stared into the camera. And if you want to be there the next time truth breaks through the static, subscribe now. You won't want to miss what's coming next. On screen, a box appeared beside her face. The next video queued up, the industry secrets Kanye hinted at. What's next in the Diddy case? Click it now. Stay with the story, because it's only just begun.